Hello, everybody. This is Dennis, and
Tikki.
we are here today, our first ever Grateful Grump Substack podcast, and we thought we would bring it to you from sunny Vancouver. A little chilly, but clear and beautiful out at one of our favorite spots here. Our little uh, urban garden is just over here, and I just want to thank everybody for following along on the challenge that we've had over the last 3 years. Would you say a bit of a challenge? And so we've appreciated the prayers that we've received from everybody and the love as we have gone through a very, very difficult time. So uh, Tikki is here with us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's gone on the last couple of years and what's ahead, and just have a little chat, me and Tikki. So, um, how would you describe the last 3 years? Is there a description that comes to mind?
First thing that came to my mind was like a bunch of scribbles, kind of everything all over the place all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some confusion, a lot of despair, maybe.
Mhm.
Mm, yeah. So, what, like when you say a lot of scribbles, can you help us understand what that means in your mind? Like, what does that mean?
I don't know. I feel like scribbles can be happy or they can be angry or
Mm,
they can be sad. It's just kind of like a lot of different emotions
mm,
and a lot of thoughts that don't make sense because
mm,
scribbles don't really make a lot of sense.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And for those who might just be learning your story right now, could you just tell the listener what you've been through the last couple of years?
Um yeah, so back in 2022, I developed anorexia nervosa and I got diagnosed with it later in that summer and have been through various treatments, including intense, like, live in treatment places and um, been to day treatment. I've been in outpatient programs. I've been admitted to the hospital. Kind of been all over the place,
Yeah.
um, metaphorically and physically.
Mm,
And it's been a real struggle. The eating disorder definitely puts a lot of strain on the family dynamic and relationships, which has been really difficult.
mm,
Um, and it's also made it impossible for me to do certain things like get hired or do volunteering or play sports or do activities that I love to do, but just didn't get the chance to because my health was
mm,
not up to par.
mm-hmm. And one of the challenges with this kind of a health crisis is because it's so much going on inside your mind, it's hard for you to even recognize or maybe admit that you have a challenge. Do you think that's fair to say?
I think I think so, especially after a long time. Kind of just feels like, okay, this is what's normal now. This is just my life.
Mm,
Whatever. Like,
mm-hmm.
screw it. I
Yeah,
don't care.
yeah.
Um, but on the contrary, I feel like after 2.5 years, for me, I was like, okay, I should try something different. Obviously, things aren't going well, and I want to do these things, but I'm not able to.
Mm,
So something needs to change.
yeah, yeah. So we rolled into the summer of 2024, pretty discouraged. If you've read the blogs, you know how discouraged we were, and we went into something called LGR. Is that right? And you were there for how long? 3.5
Yeah,
months?
3.5.
Yeah, and it's just sort of a round the clock care kind of a place. Do you have any thoughts about your time there?
Well, I think I was definitely on a downward spiral again
Mm-hmm.
with my eating disorder. Um, and so when I went in there, I was terrified. I
Mm.
really didn't want to go, but like I felt like something definitely needed to change, and so I told myself I'm just gonna try this out.
Mm.
It's not as long as it feels. It'll
Mm.
be over soon, and so I went in and I tried, and there's lots of groups, lots of individual sessions with professionals, um, and peers, fellow residents there too. Were a big part
Mm.
of the healing process there.
Mm.
Um, and so we worked out a lot of like the mental struggles and as well as like the physical complications that come with an eating disorder. And uh, and now I feel like I have a whole different perspective on it, and I have a point of view where I want things to improve
Mm.
now, and like I can point out when the eating disorder voice is there,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and like what's right and what's wrong, or what's like not true versus true,
Mm.
which is like totally different than
What it was.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mom and dad and the sibs were pretty discouraged. But coming out of LGR, uh, there seems to have been a tremendous shift. Uh, uh, I don't know how to describe it. Maybe I don't know, a switch turning on or something. I'm not sure. But Tikki's come out of LGR, and is it safe to say that you're maybe even a little bit frustrated sometimes about um, some of the cultural influences that kind of push young girls in particular into eating disorders? Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah. I also want to acknowledge that this messaging affects everyone.
Mm.
It just affects females in particular in a certain way
Mm.
that might seem more extreme in some cases.
You've made a point here of actually uh, making your writing dad, your dad who loves to write, proud by by writing an article recently about diet culture. Is that right?
Yeah.
Could you tell us just kind of a little bit about some of your findings?
So this kind of ties into your previous question. But like a lot of the messaging of diet culture, especially after being through LGR
Mm.
and having all of those conversations with the dietitians and people who kind of know what's up,
Yeah.
it feels like diet culture is just so stupid.
Mm.
Like,
What do you mean when you say diet culture? Like, what are we talking about here, Tikki?
um, so diet culture is kind of like a lifestyle, uh, but without like the life part of it, and it kind of tells people that they need to look a certain way
Mm.
by eating a certain way and um, being doing certain activities,
Mm.
um, and it kind of puts a lot of rules around people
Mm.
and makes it very difficult to actually be yourself
Yeah.
and to function optimally.
Yeah. Yeah, so it like values thinness and demonizes any kind of fat whatsoever and puts all these restrictions on what you should and shouldn't eat, and then guilt and shame kind of
Mm-hmm.
get into the equation, and then next thing you know, you're all caught up into this way of thinking, this diet culture, and some people like yourself who are very determined, very strong-willed, very conscientious, get caught up into this kind of thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, I'm going to be posting alongside this podcast Tikki's article that she wrote on the dangers of diet culture, and so I hope you'll read it and enjoy it and interact with it. And then also in the whole framework of writing, um, I've I've chronicled this whole journey as it was happening because I am a writer, and that's kind of morphed into a book, which is going to be coming out in 2025. I think we might call the book 2 Years with a Monster. Tikki is not the monster, but the eating disorder definitely is a monster. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that published and out. And hopefully, we're going to look in that book about the dangers of diet culture, about the dangers of the beauty industry. And there's even some dangerous religious ideas that push us in a direction towards unhealthy eating, unhealthy living. And so that book is going to cover all of those things, as well as the challenging, costly, what do we even call the last 2.5 years? A bit of a nightmare.
A major
A
disruption.
ma- it was a major disruption. Well, one of the great tragedies of battling an eating disorder is it robs the host. Tikki is the host of the eating disorder, and it robs the host of their natural personality and inclination. And so my daughter has been missing for the last 2.5 years. But guess what? She's back. And I love that. I'm so glad to have you back, Tikki, and you're you're working so hard. Now, let's not have any illusions here. Is the eating disorder defeated in your mind, or is this something you have to struggle with every single day?
Well, uh, the eating disorder doesn't just go away,
Yeah.
and it's quite sneaky.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that I have to deal with every day, every eating time,
Mm-hmm.
um, every activity, like I just have to be conscious of it, and
Mm.
it comes up and it sneaks up sometimes.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like practicing asking for help when I need it and reaching out for support.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot of like coping skills
Mm.
through LGR in particular. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm working on it. There's still a lot that needs to happen, but yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your plans for the future. What now that you've sort of they often talk about an eating disorder as falling into a big hole, and a big deep dark hole, and then recovery is like climbing out of that hole, and you've managed to climb out, and you're looking forward, you're seeing the light of day now. And what's on the future horizon for you, Tikki?
Well, in the near future, graduating high school. And then I hope to go to post secondary school. I'm not sure where yet, but I want to study science, and then I'll probably decide what I want to do next after that. But right now, I think it would be very cool to go to med school and become a doctor.
Mm.
Um, but we'll see where I am at that point in my life.
Oh, that's a great goal. Do you have any, like, like advice for maybe somebody's watching this or reading your article, and they've been negatively impacted by diet culture or the beauty industry, or they've got some unhealthy thoughts that are not helping them thrive with life around these issues? Do you have any, like, little bits of advice you could give, or little thoughts you might want to say?
I think something that's, well, two things that are really important are um, self compassion.
Mm.
That's been something that's been very difficult for me. There's been like a lot of self hate.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and I know that's something that a lot of other people struggle with as well.
Mm.
And so learning how to kind of be compassionate towards yourself is very important. It takes practice and it's not easy, but I think it's helpful. And the other thing I would say is that, like, really, truly, how you look does not define you as a
Mm.
person.
Mm.
And even though I've talked about this so many times and I thought about it so many times, like I still fall into that trap of believing if I look this way, or if this happens, I'm not worthy, or like I'm less
Mm,
valuable, or people will think of me as like a certain way, but that's not true.
mm,
And just because other people think something doesn't mean that it's actually true.
mm,
So just realizing when things are false, and being okay with what's true,
mm.
I guess.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And then I think too, like some of the practical things you mentioned in your article, I think one of the things you said was like just put the weigh scale away. We don't like a person a number on a scale does not indicate health, right? It's not. There's so many more factors to
Yeah.
than just the numbers on a scale. So put the scale away.
So who is like the intended audience for your book, and like what are you hoping people will do or realize when
Mm,
they read your book?
hmm Well, that's a good question. I really want anybody who has been impacted by diet culture or by the beauty industry or just anybody who's struggled with how they look or any of those kinds of things I think would benefit from this book. Of course, people who are in the throes of going through an eating disorder, or you know someone who has an eating disorder. I think the first part of the book is like a journal, right? It's a day by day journal of the first 2 years of this difficulty, of this great disruption, as you call it. And I think it's helpful for people to read what it is actually like, because when an eating disorder takes over, it's hard to even understand how difficult and challenging it is. And I think it will help people understand sometimes what's going on. And then as the book shifts from that, we begin to look at some of these other causes for eating disorders, and then we also finish with some practical helps for what to do and how to move forward. So yeah, it's a riveting, tr- trauma inducing book. So be warned. I mean, it is not a sugar coated, smoothed over
Hmm.
story. It's heartbreaking. And the fact that we're here today talking about it publicly is just a beautiful reminder to me of how far we've come. And I'm so encouraged by you, Tiki, and your courage to, you know, talk in front of a camera and to write these articles and to move forward with your life. I also want to tell you that I really appreciate how you've been able to not let disappointment crush you. You got to realize that Tiki basically spent most of her high school years trying to survive an eating disorder. And so she didn't get to experience what so many other high schoolers get to experience. And that could be a cause for great disappointment. But you haven't dwelt on that. Instead, you're like, Dad, I'm feeling good now. Let's go play hockey. And so we're playing hockey, and you're singing at your in uh,
School singing club.
your singing club. That's right. And you're just moving on with life, and you're not letting what didn't happen get you down. And I love that about you. I love how you're forward looking. And so yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in, and I hope you've enjoyed this podcast as much as I have. And anything you want to say before we close out?
Recovery, or changing your lifestyle after having an eating disorder, or even being affected or falling into the ways of diet culture, it's not like a straight path. There's going to be ups and downs. Like I still have low moments.
Mm,
um
yeah,
but but it's a journey, and you get there eventually. And if you're struggling, like, you can do this. You're so strong.
yeah,
Yeah.
right on. One of the things I'm looking forward to Tiki producing is the cover of the book 2 Years with a Monster. You still do? You still down to produce that?
I'll try.
Yeah, it might be a lot of scribbles. Could be. But yeah, and obviously a lot of what you've said and written are also going to be in that book as well. So yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.